The first lie Grace had told Hannah was her name. "Bonjour, je m'appelle Julie," Grace had said. She'd been in Paris for only a month, and her French was still new and stiff. She'd chosen the name Julie because it was sweet and easy on the French tongue, much more so than Grace was. The best lies were the simplest and made the most sense, in the mind and in the mouth. These lies were the easiest to swallow. Jacqueline, the boss, had shown Grace to her work table, abutting Hannah's, and where to store her tools in the jars along the center crack, what she could borrow, and what she would need to procure herself. Hannah had reached out to cover a jar of picks and pliers. "I don't share these," she'd said with a taut smile, like someone forced to apologize. When Grace sat down on her spinning stool a few minutes later, Hannah asked where she was from. Grace was so obviously American. "California," Grace said. Because most people already had ideas about California. They didn't ask you to explain it to them. Grace hated lying, got no joy from it. And this was how she knew she wasn't pathological. But California satisfied people so easily, even in Paris. Garland, Tennessee, where Grace was really from, was a confusing answer that only led to more questions. Tennessee, Hannah might have started. Elvis? Picno? Hillbillies? When Grace had lived in New York, everyone who asked her where she was from followed her answer with the same question. "What's that like?" As if her journey from somewhere as tiny and undistinguished as Garland had required a laborious transformation. As if getting from Garland to New York City had been some kind of pilgrimage to the first world. Grace had been in Paris for 2 years now, and she had been Julie from California since her arrival. Her life was conducted entirely in French, another kind of disguise. She and Hannah seldom discussed anything deep in the past, and when the conversation took an unwelcome turn, they quickly righted themselves. Facing each other across their tables, they hunched over their antiques and talked of busted hinges and gouged veneer. Not sorrow or worry. Not home. The boys would be paroled tomorrow, released from Lacombe, and sent home to Garland with their families. It was 3 o'clock in Paris now. Morning in Tennessee. Riley and Alls would be eating their last breakfast of powdered eggs and sausage patties, doughy-faced guards planted behind them. Grace had always imagined them together, but she'd begun to imagine their lives without her so long ago that she often forgot how little she really knew. She didn't know a thing about their lives anymore. She hadn't spoken to them in more than 3 years, since before they were arrested for robbing the Wynn house. 3 years of imagined sausage breakfasts. He wouldn't come for her, she told herself. It had been too long. Grace had often felt like two people, always at odds. But when the boys had gone to prison, one Grace had stopped her life's clock. Now it had begun to tick again. She had no control of Riley now, what he would do, and where he would go. And these unknowns bred in her a private, shapeless dread. She'd left lies unleashed in Garland, and now she couldn't mind them.